In Shinjo City, hitman Sakata finishes sharpening his blade and takes off in his fancy car. Later, in a house near the beach, some Yakuza thugs report to their boss Kawano that a new gang is trying to take over the city. Irritated by his men's incompetence, Kawano puts a knife inside one of them and slashes his face. Meanwhile, outside, Sakata sneaks around and brings down every guard on his way. When blood starts dripping through a window and a man's legs appear on another, the men finally realize there's an intruder and rush to take Kawano to safety. While Sakata continues to fight and kill thugs on the roof, the men try to leave with Kawano through the door, but bodies block it, so they take him to the second floor instead. Sakata expertly uses his blade to end the thugs coming after him, sending them rolling down the stairs. Eventually, Kawano reaches his car only to discover the driver is already dead. After slashing a few more guys, Sakata is thrown through a glass door by a gangster. They start fighting hand to hand, using any object or piece of furniture found in the room. Sakata falls and the man sits on him to stab him, but Sakata cuts off his hand and leaves him to bleed to death on the floor. Then he goes to Kawano's bedroom and uses a thug's body as a shield against Kawano's shots. A terrified Kawano tries to escape through the balcony, but Sakata quickly catches up and finally kills him. When a thug tries to shoot Sakata by surprise, he's killed first by Sakata's handler Fujita. On their way out, Fujita pays Sakata for this mission and asks him not to retire, but Sakata refuses because his family is his priority now. All this is seen by someone in the shadows. Afterwards, Sakata goes home to his wife Aoi and his daughter Ryo and takes a shower before dinner. While Sakata is changing, he hears his family screaming and finds some men wearing demon masks surrounding his family. They thank Sakata for getting rid of Kawano's gang because now their group called the Kimengumi can control the city. When one of the men grabs Ryo, Sakata tackles him and gets ready to shoot him, but he freezes when another thug shoots something on the table. Then the man starts beating Sakata up on the floor. Ryo begs the guy not to hurt her father, so Aoi rushes to get her out of the way before begging for mercy in tears. Tired of her crying, a man shoots her in the head. A furious Sakata tells Ryo to run before he attacks the strangers, but a man shoots the girl. While Sakata has a breakdown, the gang leader says that there's a demon in the city that possesses someone once every 50 years, causing them to go on a killing spree. The Kimengumi's duty is to protect the city from such demon, but Sakata still promises to kill them all one day. The man say they'll wait for that day before shooting Sakata too. Soon the police find the family and assume Sakata shot Ryo and Aoi before self-deleting. 12 years later, Mayor Sunahara is talking to the press, explaining how he transformed Shinjo City from a dangerous crime-infested area into a beautiful place of progress. He also announces that they'll be opening an integrated resort with a theater, shopping, and casino. A journalist named Kamiyama tries to ask about all the people who have gone missing and been killed in the last decade, including the leader of the group opposing the resort construction, but Sunahara says it's all factless rumors. In the meantime, Sakata has been living in a vegetative state in a medical prison. When his sentence is finally over, Fujita comes to pick him up and takes him to an apartment in the slums, proving that the city isn't doing as great as propaganda says. Days start to pass and Sakata is taken care of by Fujita's relative Raj, who bathes him, feeds him, and takes him on walks. One evening when they're returning to the apartment, a criminal suddenly jumps on them and stabs Sakata's arm as he screams his name. It turns out this is the thug whose hand Sakata cut off years ago and he wants revenge, but Sakata still doesn't react. At the same time, Kamiyama is meeting with the guy with the slashed face to ask him about the Kimengumi. The thug thinks Sakata was hired by the Kimengumi, and Kamiyama notices the day of the attack is the same date as the resort getting its business license. All this happened around the time Sunahara became mayor. The thug also explains that the Kimengumi gets their money from human trafficking and illegal substances. The conversation is interrupted by a masked man who breaks the van's window, causing Kamiyama to run away in fear. The man runs after him to kill him with a hammer while a second masked guy takes the thug out of the van. Then the men put the hammer in the thug's hand and give him a gun to force him to self-delete. They watch him die before they receive an important call. At home, Fujita is practicing ping pong while thinking about the whole deal with Sakata and how he told the Kimengumi about the family, but they didn't listen to him when he asked them not to kill them. At that moment, he gets a call with surprising news. At the hospital, police chief Kotaro comes to check on the victim of a hobo fight in the neighborhood. He gives the two guarding officers some money so they can take a break, then he enters the room, revealing the victim is Sakata. Kotaro is now wearing a demon mask and asks Sakata if he recognizes him, which means he's one of the Kimengumi who killed Sakata's family. As he takes an injection from his coat, Kotaro explains that 12 years ago when the group realized Sakata was still alive, they received orders not to shoot him again, but he always thought they should have killed him. Then Kotaro injects Sakata's fore, unaware that his voice is slowly bringing Sakata out of his vegetative state. When Kotaro gets ready for a selfie, he sees Sakata moving again. After accidentally falling, Sakata grabs Kotaro and makes him fall, followed by some choking. However, Kotaro hits Sakata with a few objects to push him off and lands a few kicks to knock him out. At that moment, the officers come back and Kotaro has to take off the mask to stop them from shooting. As soon as the guards turn around, Kotaro puts on the mask again and shoots an officer in the face, using a pillow to cover the noise. The other officer isn't surprised because he's also part of the Kimengumi. When they discover a doctor saw all this, they shoot him as well. Suddenly Sakata wakes up and jumps on Kotaro, so the officer tries to defend his boss, which triggers a fight among the three of them. The officer ends up falling and stuck between the bed and wall while Kotaro keeps on kicking Sakata, who manages to hit his enemy's head before trying to use the fourth line to choke him. Kotaro defends himself, and in the struggle they push the officer through the window. Then Sakata tries the fourth line again, and when Kotaro takes it off, Sakata finishes strangling him with the bed sheets. When Fujita and Raj arrive at the hospital, they're shocked to see Sakata walk out. He grabs some food on his way out, which triggers a memory of his family's death, further feeding his desire for revenge. The news of Sakata's revival reaches the Kimengumi, including the guys working in the illegal factory and moving the girls for sale. The leader is delighted to hear this and calls Sakata a demon loose in the city, so he starts dancing to celebrate with an ancient ritual. Soon Fujita receives a message from the Kimengumi asking him to bring them Sakata's dead body. The group drives to the factory and Sakata's body is dropped in a bag before Fujita and Raj leave. Once the bag is thrown on a conveyor machine, Sakata comes out and punches a guard before leaving the room. The factory owner Takemoto sees Sakata fighting a bunch of his employees on the cameras and immediately warns the gate guard, who opens fire at the van. Raj is immediately killed, but Fujita is only wounded and quickly shoots the guards back. After Takemoto consumes his own product, he puts on the mask that marks him as one of the killers of Sakata's family. Meanwhile, Sakata moves through the different areas of the factory, bringing down every thug in his way by using items he finds around or even smashing their heads on the wall, railings, and machinery. A worker picks up Sakata with a loader truck and covers him with trash before dropping him on the floor, so Sakata throws a knife to kill him. Another worker in a cart opens fire, so Sakata jumps on him to derail the vehicle and steals the gun to kill a few more men. Some workers jump into the cart with him and Sakata kills them with his knife, then he jumps off right before the cart crashes. Still hungry for revenge, Sakata continues to make his way through the stairs in a corridor, always killing all the men who try to stop him. When he reaches the office floor, he discovers Takemoto is already outside pressing a button on his phone. At that moment, the building blows up and Takemoto receives a call from the leader, who saw the explosion and congratulates him on his success. However, Takemoto hangs up when he sees Sakata coming out of the building protecting himself with a blanket. It looks like another fight is about to begin, but Takemoto is run over Fujita, who falls to his knees while puking blood. He apologizes to Sakata for telling the Kimengumi about his family and agrees he deserves an end too, so Sakata doesn't hesitate to shoot him. Afterwards, Sataka hangs Takemoto and starts beating him up, but Takemoto only laughs and swears loyalty to his leader. At that moment, Takemoto's phone rings and Sataka hears the leader's voice. He furiously destroys Takemoto's mask as the leader reveals that his daughter is still alive. The leader turns out to be Mayor Sunahara, and he explains that all these criminal activities bring the money to make the city progress. If Sakata wants to see his daughter again, he must let Takemoto go. However, Sakata kills Takemoto anyway. In the morning, reporters talk about all the attacks that happened last night and blame them on Sakata, saying he died in the factory explosion. Meanwhile, Ryo is now a teenager being watched by Kanta, another one of the masked men. He's in charge of the Kimengumi's human trafficking business and likes to stare at Ryo in inappropriate ways. Sunahara calls him and orders him to find Sakata, who has been hiding since the incident. In a humble neighborhood, police officer Takagawa returns to his apartment and notices the window was open before being startled by Sakata. It turns out that many years ago Sakata saved Takagawa's life, and since then the officer has been passing him information. Takagawa shows Sakata a video of the Kimengumi killing the CEO of a security company. He also has the finger of the victim. Now that company handles the security at the new resort. After stealing Takagawa's gun, Sakata goes to the security company headquarters and kills thugs on every floor until he finds a small living space. While Ryo hides behind a couch, Sakata finds a board full of pictures of his daughter with Kana posing as her father. At that moment, Kana comes in and the men immediately start to fight. While Ryo uses the chance to run away, Sakata overpowers Kanta and starts throwing him against the furniture all over the room. Kanta retaliates by hitting Sakata with a table before trying to shoot him, but Sakata dodges and starts fighting him for the gun. When Kanta hits him with a decoration to bring him down, he also insults him, and Sakata finally realizes this is the guy that killed his wife. The gun is jammed, so Sakata is about to end this, but suddenly Ryo comes back and calls Kana father before shooting Sakata with her school bow. Sakata is too shocked to dodge and the arrow hits him in the chest before Kana pushes him through the window. Kanta then looks out and discovers Sakata is escaping in a car. It turns out Takagawa is driving Sakata around and takes him to a safe spot where he can remove the arrow and take care of the wound. At that moment, Takagawa gets a call from Sunahara, who saw him on the cameras and asks him to pass the phone to Sakata. Then Sunahara tells Sakata that if he wants to see Ryo again, he must come to the resort. Without caring about his wound, Sakata drives to his hideout to grab his old blade and fancy car. Meanwhile, Ryo is locked up in a room at the resort. There are guards on every floor and every corner with plenty of weapons. Suddenly Sakata's empty car appears outside as a distraction while Sakata himself sneaks inside to start killing thugs with his blade and the guns he takes from the dead men. He also uses any objects in the room like cargo carts and the fire extinguisher. When he takes the stairs, the fight continues, and Sakata never stops killing men as he keeps going higher and higher. Most of the thugs are easy to kill, but eventually he finds a guy with a sword who manages to hurt him before he gets killed too. Pushing through the pain, Sakata keeps going until he encounters Kanta. The men fight again, and at first it seems their skills are on the same level. As he dodges attacks like a pro, Kanta complains about Sakata showing up right when Ryo's body is starting to develop, offering creepy descriptions of her. Kanta is about to stab Sakata, but he stops the blade and only gets a scar on his cheek. Then Sakata steals the blade and stabs Kanta's before hitting him in the head to knock him out. More thugs come after him, so by the time Sakata makes it to the last floor, he's exhausted. When he enters a room, he's shocked to find Ryo, who doesn't recognize him. This distraction allows the last masked man named Jin to knock Sakata out. Moments later, Sakata is taken to Sunahara, who tells Ryo about the legend of the city demon. Sunahara wants Sakata to become that demon and gets his sword ready to kill Ryo, only for Takagawa to burst in with open fire. Most of the guards quickly die, and Sunahara uses one of his men as a shield to leave the room. Sakata calls Ryo's name, and his words make her remember the day of the incident, revealing that the shot had hit her toy. She runs to hide with Takagawa while Sakata fights Jin, who uses a metal staff. Sunahara returns to watch how easily Jin overpowers Sakata, who manages to only land a hit or two while Jin continues to beat him up. However, after lots of struggle, Sakata finds an opening and stabs Jin before throwing him on the stairs. Afterward, Sunahara takes off Jin's mask, revealing he's his twin brother, except Jin has a burn mark on his face. A flashback shows how they were kept apart as kids at first, but once they met, Jin would do anything for Sunahara, even kill. Meanwhile, Takagawa is trying to leave the building with Ryo, who decides to go back for her father. After putting on his mask, Sunahara starts fighting Sakata using his sword. Since Sakata is already heavily wounded, it's easy for Sunahara to slash him over and over until he cuts off Sakata's free hand. This isn't enough to stop Sakata, who keeps dragging his weak body to throw more attacks. Sunahara blocks all his blows but still gets excited because he sees that Sakata has truly become the demon of the city. Both men suddenly attack and stab each other at the same time, so Sakata uses the chance to unmask Sunahara and finally kill him with a blow to the head. Then Sakata rolls down the stairs and notices Ryo saw everything. She tries to come closer, but at that moment Kanta reappears to shoot Sakata. Next, Kanta tries to reunite with Ryo, who doesn't want anything to do with him now that she remembers he killed her mom. He begs for her attention, and Sakata appears behind him to finally kill him with his blade. Sakata collapses in Ryo's arms and offers a few words of affection before dying. Sometime later, the police, firefighters, and doctors arrive to pick up all the bodies and wounded people. One of these bodies is Jin, who is still alive. Ryo is told to wait in the ambulance, but while everyone is distracted, she runs away. A year later, Jin is pretending to be his brother and wins the elections by getting sympathy for his scar. After an interview, Jin wears the leader's mask and performs a ritual in a shrine in the forest. At that moment, Ryo shows up and shoots Jin with multiple arrows until he's dead. Then she leaves in her father's car, where she keeps a family picture. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.